And 101.1 FM, W266DQ, Quincy. WMEX Quincy, Boston. Streaming at WMEXBoston.com. And on your smart speaker, just say play WMEX. The greatest hits of all time are back. This is the all-new WMEX.
WMEX Boston.
Chris Shea's Financial Puzzle Plan is a show dedicated to helping you understand your financial path and the puzzle pieces that build it. Join us each week as Chris explores various topics in the financial industry, along with his guests and your calls at 781-834-9639. Here's your host, Chris Shea of BPS Financial Services.
That's right. Happy Tuesday evening, party people. Hopefully everyone's having a fantastic start to your new year, and hopefully you are onto your New Year's resolutions or not even doing your New Year's resolutions. I don't know.
It's kind of like a piggy bank. You set it, and then you break it, and then you walk away for another year.
Well, that's not all that inaccurate, actually. That we talked about this, I think, a little bit last week, but in the week between Christmas and New Year's. But I think it's important that people understand that New Year's resolutions and the making of them is not probably something that you're going to continue throughout the year, and to, more importantly, don't beat yourself up about it, right? I was actually on a networking call today, one of those online Zoom things that started in the pandemic and has continued on. And they had one of those things where they had the breakout room with the Hollywood Squares, or the Brady Bunch with the 9 talking heads. And we're sitting there, and they had, introduce your business and then tell us what your goal is for the year for your business and your personal life. And we started talking about things like, what are you going to do and how are you going to change? And one of the women started talking about how she wanted to help people to keep their New Year's resolutions. And I just started chuckling because studies show that people just don't keep them. And that's okay. It's not because you're a bad person that you don't keep your New Year's resolution. It's because it's really hard, because it's just a resolution. You're not actually doing behavioral modification. And there's a difference, right? I mean, for example, like a few years ago, back in 2017, I was probably 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And I decided that I wanted to lose some weight. And I did so actually really quickly. And it wasn't because I made a resolution to do it. It was simply I changed my behavior in a couple of meaningful manners. Number one, I got a Fitbit, and all of a sudden my lack of activity was tracked, and I had goals, and I was in competitions with people, and I had to get my 10,000 steps, and then I was like, all right, I need to get 15, and I need to get 20, because I'm a competitive person, and I like to do things like that. And the other thing I did was I stopped having 2 glasses of alcohol at night. And literally, if I go to my Fitbit, which I'm pulling up right now, and I've gained a little bit of weight the past couple months, but if I look all time, there's a steep decline in the first 3 or 4 months where I lost probably 20 pounds. And it was just the behavioral modification. I gained the weight back, and then I've lost it again, and now I'm back down to well below where I was before, at least 30 pounds below. But the key to it all was the behavioral modification. I didn't make a resolution to lose weight and exercise more. I said, okay, I've got to get 15,000 steps a day, and that's my goal, and this silly thing on my wrist is going to hold me to it. The accountability factor was a big deal for that. And then, obviously, I like I said, I stopped drinking as much alcohol, which meant I stopped eating as much junk food late at night because I didn't have the munchies. And next thing I know, the weight just kind of shed itself off. You drink a little bit of more water, you get a little bit better with your eating habits, and next thing you know, I literally lost 25 to 30 pounds in about 4 or 5 months, which I've kept off for the most part. I did go back up for a period of time when my divorce started. But like I said, it was behavioral modification, right? And if we go back to the resolutions that people make, there are 5 big resolutions that people make. And Forbes Health put out an article in December of 2023. They called up 1,000 people or whatever and did the survey. The top area that people said was ding 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 improve fitness at 48%. So 48% of people said they want to improve fitness. 38% said they want improved finances. And the third one on the list was improved mental health at 36%. The fourth one was weight loss at 34%. And the fifth one was improved diet at 32%. Now, those are all wonderful things to want. I'm not going to say any of them are bad, but they are just pie in the sky resolutions, right? Like improved diet. What the heck does that mean, right? Improved fitness. What does that mean, right? Like, okay, do you go for a walk around the block and that's improved fitness, or do you actually set, go out and buy a Fitbit and set a goal of, or your Apple Watch or whatever device you want to use for tracking. I'm not product specific. I'm results specific. You figure out what you want to do. You set the goal, and no matter what you do, you try and get that goal. My goal is 10,000 steps. I'm down to that. I try and get 15, but with work and the weather here in New England now, and not being able to get to the gym as often as I'd like, I've set it at 10,000. I have already hit it for the day. As I walked in here, I was at 10,300, and a good amount of that was walking around the store, buying some food for me and my daughter for dinner the rest of the week. We're gonna have taco salad actually, which again goes to that improved diet, right? Like if I go to the store and buy food so I can make it, I am improving my diet and simultaneously probably improving my finances, because I think I spent $18 maybe, and that'll give us enough food for the two of us to have, because I had already bought the ground turkey for the taco meat, but I bought some salsa, some chips, and some other things to go into the taco salad, and it cost $18, right? Let's just use that as a number. We have 3 dinners between the two of us. Well, that's $3 a dinner for each one of us, right? So we've improved our finances, we've improved our diet, and maybe that'll lead to weight loss. But again, without a defined number at which you want to get to, it's just a resolution, and those are not usually kept. In fact, in the same thing with Forbes Health, they said that only 52% of people keep their resolutions through 3 months. And nearly 80% of people fail to keep them through 6 months, right? So how does that break down, right? So January, we're a week plus into it, and 8% of the people that responded said that they will quit their resolution or fail to keep it going in January, which means 92% of people are still going at it, right? They're still fighting the good fight. Well, 22% will last only 2 months, and then 22% more will last only 3 months, right? So you do that, and 52% of people are quitting in the first 3 months. So it's something where, because you haven't put anything specific and measurable to it, it's really hard to keep that going, because it's just a pie in the sky thing. Again, I was on that networking meeting today, and one of the guys, he was talking about his weight loss, and he didn't just say, I want to lose weight. He actually said, this past year he'd lost 30 pounds, and his goal for this current year was to lose 40 pounds. And that's a smart goal, right? And I don't say smart like as an intelligent goal. I mean a SMART goal, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, right? I want to lose 40 pounds this year. Well, that's pretty specific. It's measurable, right? You write down your weight at the beginning of the year, and as you go along, you see where you're at. Is it achievable? Well, I really don't know for him. It might be, it might not be. Is it relevant? If you're 40 pounds overweight and you want to lose that much weight, it's probably pretty relevant and timely. He put the 358 days or whatever was left in the year as his timeline, right? So he's set up a SMART goal, and he hopefully has a plan to actually achieve that, as opposed to just the pie in the sky resolution. Where that can transition over to your finances can be in your spending habits, right? And your saving habits. Because one of the things that people talk about is, I want to save more money for retirement. I want to save more money for a trip, right? I got a cousin that over the holidays, she said that she was saving a trip for going to Egypt, which is a fantastic trip, or is African? I think it was an African safari. In any case, there's a certain dollar amount associated with those things, and to make this point kind of clear, let's say you're over the age of 50 and you say you want to max out your IRA for contribution for the year. Now that would be $8,000, right? So if you made that a resolution, $8,000 saved up, I got no idea how you'd ever get to that number, right? But if you break it down, $8,000 over 52 weeks is about $154 a week, which if you break that down again, that's about $22 a day. All right. So if you've actually got the SMART goal, how do you save $22 a day and transition that from what you're spending to what you're saving into your IRA, which is essentially paying yourself first, right? It's going to depend upon your lifestyle, right? Like, and these are just some ideas of what you're doing, and they may be relevant to you, they may not be. But I don't know about anybody else, but if you've gone out to lunch recently, I went to brought my daughter to Wendy's for a couple meals. It was like $27 for the two of us. That's like $13, $14 a piece for a value meal, quote unquote. And okay, so right there, $22 per day. If I don't take us out for dinner, that's done it. But let's just say I don't take my daughter out, right? I just do it myself. Okay, that's $13 a day. We're round down. I don't drink coffee, but I know a lot of people do. And there's Starbucks, there's Dunkin', there's a whole bunch of places where you can get coffee or tea or something like that, whatever, a smoothie. Let's just say that's $5 or $6, right? 13 plus 5 or 6. Okay, let's again round down. 13 plus 5 is 18. $18 out of 22 is just not getting a coffee at a store or not getting lunch out. And that's a cheap lunch out. That's not even a meal with a real drink or whatever. Then say you go out to dinner, and then obviously that's another thing. So you just got to do the math on how you're going to get that $22 a day. I had another chat with a woman today. She was a UMass Amherst alum like myself, and we were talking, and she's in between jobs, and she's looking at her spending habits, and we started talking, and she's like, oh yeah, I want to be social because she's in her 20s, but she doesn't want to spend a boatload of money going out all the time. And I said, well, what about having a girls' night that starts at somebody's house like yours, and then goes on from there? And the first thing that you do is you have some appetizers, right? Chips and dip, whatever floats your boat. You can even do some shrimp, if you wanted some shrimp cocktail or something. But everybody chips in on that, and instead of it being a $15 appetizer, and you'll get two of them, that's $30. Maybe you do just one or two of them, and you spend $10 each, and you split a couple bottles of wine, which, go ahead and get a $20 bottle of wine. Well, if you're splitting that between four people, you get two bottles of wine, that's $40, that's $10 each. A glass of wine is more than $10 at the bar. So you can go from spending $50 on appetizer and a couple of drinks to spending $20, $25. And all of a sudden now you've put money in your pocket and you've modified your behavior to get you what you want in terms of your achieving that goal of whatever you wanted. In this case, I just made up the goal of putting the most money you possibly can in your IRA account for the year. So there's ways in which you can do your planning such that you can ensure that you actually get what you want, right? Because realistically, in the case of going out to lunch by yourself or going out to dinner, you realize that usually the meal that you get is ancillary to the times that you have, the fun times you have with your friends, right? And so, just some thoughts. If you got any questions about this, you want to start talking with me, keep me company. The phone number is 781-834-9639. Love to chat with you about this, that, or whatever. If you want to talk about the coaching carousel and what's going on with the NFL, I'd be happy to talk about that as well, seeing as it tends to be a big-time topic here in New England, as no one knows what the heck's going on over at the Patriots game or Patriots place.
Including the Patriots.
Yeah, I actually was at the game Sunday.
I'm so sorry.
Why?
Well, I mean, if you enjoyed that, by all means, I hope you had fun.
So me and a couple of buddies, they had tickets to the club seats. So we were in the club seat section. And we went early, we tailgated, we had some some breakfast sandwiches, then we had some nice steak, we had a few more drinks, got some great pictures of us in the snow, there for kickoff of what may have been the Belichick's last game. But we enjoyed it, but I personally had budgeted for it. I didn't go out Friday or Saturday. I knew we were going to go out and have a lot of fun, and I was going to spend a bunch of money. So I said, okay, there's my weekend fun. We'll go towards the super expensive drinks at Foxborough, and everything else that went along with it, with bringing food and having stuff that we made up. But it was well worth the experience, and I guarantee you, we are not going to remember what we had for food anymore. In a couple weeks, we'll remember what we had for food. We'll remember it was pretty good. But we will remember the fact that we had a lot of fun in the parking lot, freezing, laughing when it went from rain to snow, and then getting into the stadium and watching the game and hanging out and laughing and talking with some people that were near us. And the experience is what we're going to remember. The amount of money that we spent is not what's going to come up. And if I had spent $1,000 more or $1,000 less, it wouldn't have made a difference. It's not always about having the from my perspective, it's not always about how much money you spend on things. It's about how much you enjoy it. Now, if you enjoy finer things, fantastic. Just make sure you can afford it. I'm not against it. Again, I had the conversation I had with the woman today about her budget and things like that. I said, look, when you were working, did you get an annual bonus? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, well, here's what I tell people when they get an annual bonus. Say you got a $5,000 bonus, right? $2,500 goes towards paying down debt or goes into your future retirement account or something that's going to put you in a better spot. And the other $2,500 goes to just stupid fun. And she kind of looked at me and said, wait, what? You just advised me to spend money? I said, yeah, you got to enjoy your life. You can't be just preparing for tomorrow, because if you do that, you're going to be miserable, right? It's not realistic to not spend money and enjoy your life. If you don't have fun with it, why are we here, right? I mean, I try and make sure that I instill that in my daughter as much as I possibly can. We'll go out, we'll have fun. We don't have to spend $1 million to have fun. We can go have fun doing different things. And sometimes you do have to spend money, but quite often you don't have to spend as much. You can figure out how to have fun, right? Go out and, get some good hiking boots and go for hikes, right? Get some warm clothes and go for hikes. And then when the warmer weather comes, you don't have to wear as much clothes and you can still enjoy hiking. If that's what you want to do, or you can figure out something else, right? Go buy a pickleball racket and or paddle and go play pickleball. Find a place to play and go and enjoy it, right? Get a group of people together and just do that. Whatever makes you happy, right? And I know that the studies all show that the reason why Amazon is so successful is because you get that endorphin rush from clicking on the I'm buying thing, right? And this is coming from someone who doesn't have an actual Amazon Prime account. And the reason why I don't have an Amazon Prime account is because I want to have a barrier for me to buy. It's so simple and easy to scroll through your phone when nothing's going on. And as I look at Ben, he's scrolling through his phone because nothing's going on. He doesn't have to do a whole lot right now. But if you get to the point where you get addicted to clicking on to buying stuff and purchasing and acquiring stuff and spending money, that may not be in your best interest, right? You got to identify whether it's a need or a want.
Definitely not. And then you introduce the whole online gambling aspect to it and forget about it.
Yeah, I can't go 5 minutes without hearing an ad for online gambling.
I got to tell you, within the first 20 minutes of that being legal, I was so done hearing about it. The first 20 minutes.
Well, I mean,
I've got to be one of the only people left in this state that hasn't actually placed a bet yet. Chris, it sounds like you might be with me on that list.
I have not placed a bet yet. And again, it kind of goes towards that behavioral thing. It's not that I don't like gambling. I have no problem with it. I actually, on Tuesday nights when I don't have my daughter, I play in a poker game down in Marshfield. It's a small $20 buy-in, right? So, I'm going to lose $20 at the most. Play for a couple hours, have some fun, play some cards, but it's an enjoyable evening that doesn't get too crazy. And then, I also, again, we're talking about football. I play fantasy football, and I don't have to gamble on individual football games because at the beginning of the season, I have action, quote unquote, on all these fantasy football players. And that's how I get my, make it more meaningful, is I have my fantasy football team. We play, and, I think between the one league that I'm in that I've been in since, I don't know, 2003 or 4 or 5 or something like that. Geez, it's going on 20 years. Holy gosh.
That doesn't sound right, does it?
Yeah. Our buy-in is a mere $60, right? So for the entire 17-week season, although this year I didn't make the playoffs because my team got decimated with injuries, I spent $60 and had, in this case, 14 weeks of frustration because my team was awful. It just happened that everybody that I had got hurt, and yeah, it wasn't fun. But I didn't feel the need, because I'm just competitive and I wanted to try and make my team win. I didn't feel the need to go out and continue to put money on any other games. It just didn't appeal to me to get more action going because I didn't need it, right? And again, it goes to that behavior of what do you want to do, right? What's important to you? And and then there is another thing that I do every week. My cousins and I, we do a pick 'em pool every week for all the football games. So we pick every single game straight up, not against the spread. And, I think we put in $34 at the beginning of the year. But again, every week I am betting on whatever. And if you win, each week you win, you get money. And then cumulative, if you win the whole thing at the end of the year, you get money. But it's one of those things where that gives me my competitive edge. And between the two of them, I spend less than $100. And that gives me all that I need for me to get through the NFL season with my, action on gambling. So it's not that I'm not averse to it. It's just that you need to do it responsibly because, and I will say this, with full knowledge again that I'm a poker player. I'll go play poker at a casino. I've done it. I played craps a lot when I would go to casinos. I do like playing craps. But if you look at the buildings that you're playing these games of chance in, they're pretty doggone gorgeous. And the question has to be, how did it get that way? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Gambling losses, right? You've got to look at anything you do with gambling as entertainment. And if you're doing it to, pay your rent or your mortgage or get ahead, yeah, bad idea, right? And again, if you can afford to put $500 into an account and have the wherewithal to not add to that, and a month, if that's your gambling budget, fine. Just don't go crazy with it. We are getting down to the bottom of the hour, which I'm going to give you the phone number one more time here if you want to call and chat about any of this or anything else. 781-834-9639, WMEXBoston.com, 1510 a.m. Boston and 101.1 FM Quincy. Chris Shea just here chatting away. Give me a call if you want. And right now we're going to hear from my friends and me on some advertising.
Hi, my name is Kyle, and I'm one of the owners of Austin Insurance Agency. Let's be real, your insurance premiums have skyrocketed since the pandemic, and many families are having a hard time finding affordable coverage. We have access to over 50 insurance carriers at our 2 convenient locations. One's in Hingham, near Derby Street Shopping Mall, and another is in Whitman on Route 18. We are a third-generation insurance agency, and since 1964, we have helped thousands of families find an affordable solution. It costs you nothing for us to review your policy, but it might if you don't. Austin Insurance Agency, our family protecting yours. Contact us at 781-447-5561. Also online at austininsurance.com.
Are you fit to retire? I'm Chris Shea, financial advisor at BPS Financial Services in Marshfield. I work with clients to create a 100-day plan that can help get you started so that you can get the most out of your retirement. You worked your whole life towards your goal of retirement. Let BPS Financial Services put together a plan that will help you enjoy your retirement. Find out how a 100-day plan tailored to you can help you get started in your retirement at fit2retire.com/Chris-Shea. or call 781-733-5996. That's 781-733-5996. And now for my fast red disclosure, as this has been compliance approved.
Chris Shea is a registered representative offering securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC, member FINRA/SIPC, a broker-dealer and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity, located at 752 Ocean Street, Marshfield, Massachusetts, 02050.
Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to refinance, don't waste time sifting through countless mortgage options. At MBA Mortgage, our licensed loan officers do the work for you. We shop the best rates from top lenders and tailor a mortgage solution just for you. Trust the experts at MBA Mortgage and call Matt Scott at 781-849-1118 or visit our website at www.mbamortgageteam.com. Your home, your future, your choice. MBA Mortgage has mastered the business of mortgages. And don't forget to check me out on Tuesdays during Chris Shea's Financial Puzzle Plan at 6 o'clock on WMEX.
That's right. It's Tuesday night at WMEX, and normally on the second Tuesday of the month, we'd have my good friend Ben Cody on from Stiles Law in Marshfield to talk about estate planning. But Ben had the wonderful pleasure of becoming a dad again over the Christmas holiday. He got a wonderful son that the family's recovering, and he's got a couple other kids. And I told Ben that he probably should stay at home and help his wife out with managing the other kids and not the newborn, because mommy is recovering from childbirth, which I don't have to experience, thankfully.
Mama's busy, kid. Beat it.
Yeah. So so Ben will be, he'll be back maybe the end of the month, seeing as there's 5 weeks here in the month of January. But we'll see. We'll go about talking about specifically about estate planning, and I'm not the subject matter expert on that. So rather than have a good amount of conversations, we'll table that for either next month or for the end of January. But next week, as you heard, we got a couple of people coming on. And Matt Scott from MBA Mortgage will be on next week on the 16th. And Kyle Austin will be back on the 23rd. So we got mortgages and insurance coming up, and then the first Tuesday of the month, we're back to real estate with Leon Marion, who was on with us last week, chatting about the real estate market and the changes that are afoot, and quite truthfully, like whatever people think is going to happen with the real estate market, as we found out in the pandemic, it's kind of hard to figure it out. We do know that there's still low inventory going on with it. So if you've got a house that you're looking to sell, now's the time to get good value. Just got to figure out where you're going to move to next, because that's the big question, right? And you can sell your house for a lot of money, but what are you going to buy next, or where are you going to move to? Rentals can be challenging to find now as well, but it's part of the financial puzzle of how to get everything together, and that's kind of what I do. Is I take these things that are going on in your life and try and figure out how to piece it together. One of the things that I think is a misnomer about a financial advisor is that the only thing that we care about is how much money you have in your retirement account. And that might be true for some people, but it's not true for me, right? Because as I've said a few times, you've got to live and you've got to save for your future. Because if you don't live today, then you're just hanging on, and unfortunately for a lot of people, and this happens far more frequently than people want to admit, people retire and then within 2 to 4 years they're passed away. So you've worked 40, sometimes 50 years to save up this money so you can retire and live the good life. And then next thing you know, your health fails, you're not doing anything, you're miserable, and you haven't made a plan to make sure that you're actually living a life that you actually want to live. And you actually find that you're not actually, what I would call fit to retire, right? As you heard in my ad there, one of the things that I talk about is getting people fit to retire. And I get asked frequently, like, okay, that's a cool little saying. What the heck does that actually mean? and I tell people it's a view of retirement that looks at everything in your financial life, and not just how much money you have in the bank, right? So there's 5 areas to make sure that you're actually fit to retire. Okay. Well, first, let's back up a little bit, right? The first question you've got to ask when you talk about getting ready to retire is, what's your level of enthusiasm and what's your level of preparedness, right? Because if you don't have enthusiasm for retiring, you're not going to enjoy it at all, right? And I use my parents as examples. My dad could not wait to retire. He wanted to travel. He wanted to hang out. He wanted to do all this stuff because he was done with working. My mother, on the other hand, she was a realtor for 35 years, and she did her last real estate transaction 4 months before she passed away. She worked right up to the end because that's what she enjoyed doing. She had no enthusiasm for retirement. She had enough money to retire. She didn't have to work, but she enjoyed the heck out of real estate, and she enjoyed the heck out of helping people. So she was prepared. She just lacked the enthusiasm. My father was prepared and had enthusiasm, so he was ready to go. And so the other part of it is you've got to look at the 3 stages of retirement, right? And I like to break that down with people into the 3 sections called the go-go, the slow-go, and the no-go as the seasons of retirement. And those usually break down into 5 to 10 year periods if you plan for it correctly. If you don't plan for it, it could be 6 months to a year. But if you plan for it correctly, your go-go should last between 5 and 10 years. Your slow-go should last another 5 to 10 years, and your no-go should be another 5 to 10 years. And I'll go through what the 3 of them are in a couple minutes. But those are the 3 seasons of retirement. And then there, like I said, there's 5 areas. They're health and nutrition, self-identity, social, personal relationships, and of course money, right? So the question people usually have is, what does that look like, right? And what do you mean by these 4 areas? So we'll get to that, and like I said, we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to go through the 3 seasons of retirement. Again, the go-go, the slow-go, and the no-go. And these are just vague, rough ideas of time, right? But the go-go years are, say, 65 to 70, right? Because people say they want to retire at 65. I know it's getting later into 70, so it might be 70 to 78 or something like that. But this decade includes dining out, travel, social events. Go to the theater, you go to concerts, and other potentially expensive activities. Maybe you go on that trip to Europe that you've been looking for. Maybe you go on that cruise through the Caribbean. You figure out what expensive activities you want to do with, a significant other or a group of people. But it's travel, it's dining out, social events, and you're on the go. You're doing things. You're You're enjoying the heck out of life as much as you possibly can. But there comes a time when all of a sudden you can't quite go as much, and that turns into the slow go years, right? And that's 75 to 85. And you may be involved in some active lifestyle with social events and activities associated with your go-go years. But some of the other things like travel and costlier expenses, they may start to decline. And I use my grandparents as an example of this. They were snowbirds. They lived in North Dartmouth, Massachusetts, but they went down to Florida every year, and when I was a kid, and they would drive. So they'd get in their car and they'd drive the 2 days. They'd make it down in 2 days to their Florida location that they were going to rent for 3 or 4 months, 5 months maybe. I forget exactly how long it was, but they do that, and then they drive back up in 2 days. Well, that was all well and good when they were in their 60s. Then all of a sudden, the 70s hit, and the 2-day trip became a 5-day trip because they just couldn't sit in the car as long, and they couldn't plow through the travel. And then they decided that, okay, well, they didn't want to fly anymore either because that was a hassle, and they were going down for 3 months, so they needed a whole lot of clothes, which was great when you had it in the car because you just threw everything in the trunk or the back seat or whatever, and manage that. And the other part of it too was they didn't want to rent a car because they were familiar with their car, but they became a little nervous when they were driving someone else's car, right? So that was an example. So then they stopped their travel just because it was logistically challenging to do it. And then once you get through the slow go, you go to the no-go years. And this is where you start to surround yourselves with family and friends, right? You do a lot less travel. Your kids and grandkids come to you as opposed to you going to them. And you spend more face-to-face time with loved ones. I can remember, again, I use my grandparents as an example. After my grandfather passed away, whenever I was in town, I would go down and visit my grandmother. And her favorite restaurant was the Olive Garden. And, she liked it because she liked it. I don't know exactly why. But, we'd have the all-you-can-eat breadsticks. We'd have the all-you-can-eat salad. And then I'd order the tour of Italy every time, which was the chicken parm, the fettuccine alfredo, and lasagna. And every time I would eat the fettuccine alfredo and not touch the chicken parm or the lasagna. And every time my grandmother would be like, why aren't you eating that? And I'm like, oh, I had too many breadsticks. I had too much salad. I'm not hungry. And it was an hour drive from New Bedford to Hanover where my parents lived. And even longer if I was driving back to UMass Amherst, which was a 2-hour plus drive. And I'd say to my grandmother, look, the food's going to go bad by the time I get home. Why don't I just leave it with you? And every time she'd fight with me, and I'd be like, no, I'm just going to leave it with you. Don't worry about it. And I did it with intent because I knew that she couldn't get out, and her cooking skills when I was younger, they were fantastic, but they were diminishing. And it was a whole lot easier for her to take something out in a leftover container and throw it in the microwave and have sustenance. So my chicken parm and my lasagna would probably be 3 or 4 nights of dinner for her. And that made me feel good because I knew that, I didn't really need it. I really didn't, I had enough food at the restaurant. And like I said, I wasn't going to let it go bad for an hour ride in the car. And I probably wasn't going to eat the leftovers anyways because I was doing whatever. But that became her no-go years, was we would always come visit her and take her out and do all those things that she wanted to do, but we had to go get her to bring her places, right? So that's the go-go, the slow-go, and the no-go. And then if we want to talk about the 5 areas of retirement success, you've got to look at self-identity, social, health and nutrition, personal relationships, and financial security, right? So let's talk about self-identity. And I like to cachet this with, we just got done with the holiday season. And if you went to a holiday function and you're still working, or even if you're not working, right? Like what's one of the first questions that you ask someone when you meet them? Well, one of the first questions that I get asked and just about all the time is, what do you do for a living, right? We as Americans, a lot of our identity is wrapped up in what we do for a living. In retirement, you have the golden opportunity to redefine, rewire, and re-answer the question, who am I? Right? Again, I'm a financial advisor. When I retire, I'm going to be a sailor. I'm going to be a boater. I already know that's what I want to do. I want to give back. I want to be someone who helps educate younger people on how to be better with their businesses, because I think that there's a lot of that isn't done properly. I want to do a lot of financial education still for younger people, because most people get their money wrong. One of the things I like to say to people is, once you learn how money works, you never worry about money again. But most people don't take the time to learn how money works, right? And so you got to figure out what you want to do. I also want to do live music. I love going to see live music. I lived in New Orleans for 5 years. Put me in a jazz club and I am tickled pink. Absolutely love it. But the National Institute on Aging, to back this up, so shows that people involved with social and leisure activities or with hobbies live longer and have a lower risk for health problems, including dementia, right? So this is not just about your self-identity, but it also impacts your other areas of life. Right? So we talk about social as well, right? Pre-retirees, and again, this is a little bit different now that the pandemic happened, but for a lot of people, they're coworkers with their friends, right? And much of their social life. And then after they retire, it's gone, right? Like if you work at a large Fortune 500 company, even a big company with a couple hundred people, you might have a lot of friends at work. And when you retire, your friends are still working. So when you want to get a coffee at 10, 11 in the morning, you send them a text message and they say, what are you talking about? I can't get a coffee. I got a meeting with a boss and we got this client meeting and I'm not doing this. So when you leave, you might be leaving away your social activities. Right? But one of the great things about retirement is you now have the time and potentially the resources to reconnect with old ones and meet new ones. One of the best things out there is an app called Meetup, a web page. It's an app too. But it's an important way, and people need to be social. Again, there's studies out there, one of them done by the University of California, that said about 25% of seniors who feel isolated and unhappy also report declines in their ability to perform activities of daily living. What's activities of daily living? Bathing, dressing, meal prep, going out for a walk, right? Like getting around the house, cleaning the house. All those things, if you're isolated and unhappy, you have a 25% chance of a decline in activities like that. Seniors who do not experience loneliness, though, they only report a 12.5% decline in activities of daily living, which means you're half as likely to not have those issues. So get out, be social, meet people, go, like I said, Meetup's a wonderful app. Find it, download it on your phone, go to meetup.com, join a group. They've got things that you can go to. If you're in the Massachusetts area, there's a ton of councils on aging. Go check them out. Be social. Go there. I was at one with a senior group that I'm working with, and we're actually doing a prom down at one of them in Plymouth in a couple months. But we're there, and they gave us this whole activity thing. They've got cribbage going on. They've got yoga mats. They've got all these activities with arts and crafts and things that are going on all the time. Get involved, get plugged in, go be social. And actually, in Marshfield, where I play poker on Tuesday nights, a group of the people that I play poker with, they play bridge on Wednesday mornings too. So they get done playing poker and on Tuesday nights, and these are women in their 70s, and I think one of them is 90 years old, playing poker, out drinking, a drink on Tuesday nights, and then Wednesday they're playing bridge at the Marshfield Council on Aging. So go get social, see people, get out, do it. You'll get a great return for your investment of your time. Okay, health and nutrition. A wise man once said, "Real wealth is good health." Some of us in our working lives, daily exercise is a challenge. A healthy diet can be a challenge too, right? You're running from thing to thing. You just grab whatever fast food thing you can grab really quickly and move on. But now that you have more hours in the day, you can pay more attention to getting healthier, which will also reduce your future healthcare expenses. Because one of the things that I'm sure people have heard of in the media right now is this thing called inflation that's going on. And yes, we're in a high inflation time right now. But the normal inflation for our economy is about 2.5%. But the inflation rate for healthcare is about 5.5%. So if you think healthcare is expensive now, every 12 years that the cost of healthcare doubles. So if you're not preparing for it and you're not taking better care of your health, your costs are going to go through the roof, and there's nothing I can do to change that. That's a macroeconomic thing that's going on that you just got to prepare for, right? And the Mayo Clinic, right? We've all heard of the Mayo Clinic, I hope. People who exercise regularly report decreased rates of depression, lowered pain, less anxiety. Have good health, have good nutrition, you'll live a better life, right? I know a few people that have had health problems, and when you don't feel good, you'll throw any amount of money at it to make yourself feel better. It's just one of those realities of the world. Personal relationships, retirement brings a lot of changes into your relationships, especially with your significant other. Now, this changed a little bit in the pandemic because people were cooped up together, and they realized that they needed the me time and the we time. But if you're still not with each other 24/7, you're probably gonna be like, oh, we got to figure out how to manage this. When I do some education every once in a while, I'll talk about financial planning with people, and I'll ask a couple, and it's very stereotypical, right? Ask the younger woman in her 40s or 50s, when you retire, what do you want to do? And I want to spend time with my grandkids. I want to garden. I want to do some of that sort of stuff. Ask the guy, and the answer is, I want to buy a boat and go fishing, right? And I actually did this with a couple, and she looked at him and she said, "You want to go fishing? I don't like going fishing." He said, "Exactly why I want to go fishing." and she whacked him, of course, appropriately so. But I then had to tell them, look, that's normal. You should not do everything the same with each other. You got to have me time and we time. But again, people that have satisfying relationships are happier, have fewer health problems, and live longer. So if those are important for you, get it done. Go have that relationship. And again, Harvard's Women Health Watch, people with fewer social ties they're associated with depression, cognitive decline, and premature death. And we saw that in the pandemic. Happened to my mom. She was cut off. We couldn't see her. She lived in a 2,500 square foot house, and she passed away pretty quickly because she was cut off from the world, isolated, and it didn't go well. So that's when I talk about being fit to retire. Those are the areas that I talk about. If you want to know more about it, you can contact me. The website is you can just search Fit to Retire, Chris Shea. That's fittoretire.com/Chris-Shea. That's CHRIS-SHEA. There's an assessment on there. Take the assessment. It doesn't cost anything. You'll get the results of your readiness and your preparedness It asks zero questions about how much money you have in the bank. It's all about your feelings around it. And then, we can review the assessment, go through it, talk about it. If you then want to schedule a second meeting to get a pre-retirement checklist about how you want to go through and get yourself ready for retirement, that's great. But the real gold in it is the ability for people to create a 100-day playbook. And I say that because, again, all the studies show that if you're prepared to start living your retirement and actually living it when you retire, you've got a much better chance of being successful, right? In the first half hour tonight, I talked a little bit about setting your goals and having versus having a resolution. Well, having retiring without a plan, it's kind of like a resolution to just retire. But if you are able to create a 100-day plan and playbook to start off hitting the ground running when you hit retirement, you're far more likely to actually have some SMART goals around that, right? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go hang out with the girls, and we're going to play, bridge or whatever. We're going to hang out with the girls. We're going to play poker. We're going to sit around and smoke some cigars. Whatever the case may be, if you actually set up a 100-day playbook, you're much more likely to be successful and not fall into the rut of sitting at home, watching Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever, and eating bad stuff in the fridge. And next thing you know, you're miserable. You're not enjoying life. And within 2 to 4 years, you're passing away. And again, I don't say that to scare people. I say that because that's what the studies show. And I think that's a horrible way to, have what should be a wonderful time in your life pass by too quickly in a not good manner, right? For me, it's very tragic when people work 40, 50 years for this wonderful retirement, and next thing you know, they pass away in 2 to 4 years. And usually it's because they haven't prepared, they haven't gotten ready, they haven't looked at how they're going to change their self-identity, they haven't looked at how they're going to interact with people socially, they certainly don't focus on their health and nutrition, they don't work on their personal relationships, and next thing you know, their health declines, and unfortunately, once that happens, there's kind of no going back from it. Unfortunately, and like I said, it's sad. I don't like to see it from people, but it happens, and like I said, it happens sometimes all too frequently, because it just does, because people aren't prepared for the reality of their life. So again, Chris Shea with BPS Financial Services. I'll be here next week. Phone number to call in and harass me next week, and Matt as well is 781-834-9639. If you want to call me after this and not be on the radio, but still have a conversation about some of the things that I talked about, 781-733-5996. Again, that's 781-733-5996. You can reach out to me, ask me some questions. We'll have a conversation, and hopefully help you get in a better place so you can actually enjoy your retirement years, whether they're next year, 5 years, 20 years away. If you create a plan, you'll be far better off. So again, hopefully everybody stays dry as they possibly can with this storm coming up tonight, and have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you all next week. The right place, the right time to talk to me.